You lost about 2 months of this year already. You just didn't notice. Somewhere around 30, your brain quietly changed how it counts your life. Nobody voted on this. It just happened to you. This is not a feeling. It is a measurable trick your nervous system plays. And it has a name, a mechanism, and researchers who have measured it in labs. Think back to one childhood summer. It felt endless. Now think back to last summer. Where did it go? Same length of time. 2 completely different sizes in your head. That gap is not nostalgia talking. It is arithmetic. A French philosopher named Paul Janet worked this out back in 1897. His idea is called proportional time. It is brutally simple. When you are 5, 1 year is a full fifth of everything you have ever lived. That is enormous. Of course it felt like forever. When you turned 50, that same 1 year is now a tiny 50th slice. The calendar didn't change. Your denominator did. Every year you live becomes mathematically smaller than the one before it. You are not slowing down. You are being divided by a bigger and bigger number. But the math is only half the story. Your brain adds its own trick on top. Your brain does not actually record time. It records events. More new events packed into a stretch of time, the longer it feels afterward. This is called the holiday paradox, and it explains your entire childhood. A week on vacation feels short while it's happening and huge afterward. A week of nothing new does the opposite, fast then and forgettable later. Childhood is packed wall to wall with firsts. First bike, first kiss, first broken bone. Every one of those firsts gets carved deep into memory. Deep memories give your brain more to measure the year by. More measuring sticks means the year feels like it's stretched on forever. Now, picture your average adult Tuesday. Wake up, commute, desk, commute, sleep, repeat, forever. Your brain sees one day, decides it already knows the rest, and stops recording. 365 nearly identical days get filed as one single blur. That is why an entire year can vanish and leave almost nothing behind. You didn't lose the year. You just never wrote it down in the first place. There is a name for this too. Psychologists call it the reminiscence bump. Ask anyone over 60 to recall their life, and most memories cluster between 10 and 30. That is your brain's most active construction period. First job, first heartbreak, first everything. After that, the pace of new identity-forming events drops off a cliff, and fewer landmark events means fewer places for your memory to hang a flag. So, there is your mechanism. Math, novelty, and memory, all pulling the same direction. But there is a fourth piece, and this one is chemical, not just perceptual. It comes down to a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine doesn't just make you feel good, it helps your internal clock keep time. Researcher Peter Mangan found that lower dopamine makes internal time run faster, meaning your own perceived seconds get shorter as you get older. Dopamine levels drop measurably every decade after your 20s. Less dopamine, faster internal clock, shorter felt seconds, and years that sprint past you. It is a chemical drift, not a personal failure. You were built by evolution to survive the next 10 minutes, not to enjoy the decades. A brain wired for threat and food never needed an accurate sense of decades. It needed novelty detection, new sound, new smell, new danger. Pay attention now. That same novelty circuit is exactly what makes your years feel long or short today. It just was never built to be honest about a whole year at once. So, let's be precise about what is actually happening inside your skull. The stopwatch of your brain lives in a region called the striatum. It fires little pulses, and your brain literally counts the pulses to estimate duration. Dopamine controls the speed of those pulses, like a hand on a dial. Turn dopamine up, and pulses come faster, so more pulses fit into one real second. More pulses per second makes that second feel longer while you're living it. Turn dopamine down, pulses slow, fewer fit into that same real second. Fewer pulses means your brain thinks less time passed than actually did, which means real clock time keeps racing ahead of your internal one. This is why a child's 5 minutes in a waiting room feels like an eternity, and an adult's 5 minutes in the same chair barely registers at all. Same 5 minutes, 2 entirely different chemical clocks running the show. Now stack that chemical drift on top of the math and the memory effect. 3 separate systems, all quietly conspiring to make your 40s disappear. None of it is a design flaw. All of it is exactly what a survival brain should do. A brain that logged every identical Tuesday in full detail would be exhausted, not efficient. So your brain compresses the boring parts to save space for what might matter. That is a feature for a hunter-gatherer. It is a cost for someone tracking a career. Because you are the only animal that keeps score across decades, it will never need. No other species mourns a fast year. You do, because you invented the year. Your ancestors never asked where the summer went, they just survived it. You, on the other hand, invented birthdays, deadlines, and existential dread about turning 40. So now the harder question: can you actually slow any of this down? You cannot fix the math. 30 will always be a smaller fraction than 5. But you can absolutely hack the novelty and the memory part. Researcher David Eagleman ran experiments dropping people off towers to test this. In genuine free-fall terror, people estimate the fall lasted far longer than it did. Not because time slowed, because fear floods the brain with new data to record. Extreme fear is one way to do it. Most of us would rather not, thank you. Fortunately, plain novelty works the same trick without the terror. A new route to work, a new food, a new skill you're bad at. Each one forces your brain to actually pay attention and lay down a real memory. More real memories laid down means more flags on the timeline when you look back. And more flags on the timeline is what makes a year feel like it actually happened. This is not a productivity hack. It is a memory encoding hack, and the science backs it. Routine is efficient for your body and expensive for your memory of being alive. You are trading felt time for comfort. Every single day, you don't notice it. Nobody is saying, quit your job and become a stranger to your own schedule. Just that the brain rewards the version of you who breaks the loop occasionally. There is also a darker, more honest reason this all matters so much. The proportional math gets crueler the older you get, not gentler. At 80, 1 year is 1/80th of your life, barely a flicker. This is exactly why people say life accelerates toward the end, not just middle age. It is not despair. It is a straight line you can actually see coming, which is exactly why the novelty trick matters more with every passing decade. It cannot beat the math, but it can absolutely thicken the memory of the years you get. A year of new places and new faces leaves more marks than a year on a couch. And those marks are the only real evidence you were ever there at all. So here is the accusation. You are not aging. You are coasting. Every rut you build is a little machine for deleting your own life. The good news is your brain never stops taking the bait. Novelty is not a mood. It is a dosage you control. A new route to work. A new food on the plate. None of it needs to be big. It only needs to be unfamiliar. Your brain does not care if the new thing is good. It only cares that it has never filed this moment before. That is the whole mechanism. Newness gets filed. Sameness gets skipped. So the calendar is not lying to you. Your habits are. You cannot lengthen the year. Nobody has ever managed that. But you can pack more of it in, the way a toddler does. Every day of that first grade was long because nothing repeated. You do not get that back by being young again. You get it by paying attention. This is not a self-help trick. It is what the neurons are built to do. You are not fighting your biology here. For once, you are just using it. So go smell a spice you have never touched. Take the ugly staircase. Talk to the stranger. Let this year actually leave a mark on you. Because the clock was never speeding up. You were just running out of things to remember. Ape explains, go do something you have never done, then come back and tell me.